President Trump's agenda changes the Fed's equation. Cutting government jobs and spending could weaken demand and lower prices. It really is a case of on the one hand, on the other hand. Because on the other hand, most economists think that the permanency of the income tax cuts and the raising tariffs will push prices higher. Howard Lutnick is the Commerce Secretary nominee. He told lawmakers tariffs won't hurt consumers.
The economy of the United States of America will be much, much better. A particular product's price may go up, but all of them, this is not inflationary. The two top countries with tariffs, India and China, have the most tariffs and no inflation. It is just a nonsense that tariffs cause inflation. It is nonsense.
Alan Blinder, former vice chair of the Fed, now a professor at Princeton. Now, of course, you can pass the exact language so that you can define the tariffs so they're non-inflationary. But as a general principle, we've always been taught tariffs are inflationary because eventually the tariff gets passed on to the consumer. Is this still the case?
Yeah, you were taught correctly. Now, I might add two things. First of all, they may not be passed 100% onto the consumer. That depends on the product, the market structure, and a whole lot of other things. So I wouldn't assume every single tariff is 100% passed on to the consumer. The other thing that the Trump people like to ignore is the retaliation from other countries. That yes, we raise tariffs, and that's a bit inflationary. Other countries may raise their tariffs. And to the extent we keep importing from them, that's also inflationary.
Trying to work out the totality effect or the total effect of the Trump policies is very, very difficult because you do have the permanency of the tax cuts, which arguably is inflationary because it's going to stimulate the economy. Cut that with spending cuts on social programs, which slows the economy. Net, would you say, from what you know of the policies and his growth demand, that we are looking at growth and higher inflation as a result?
I'd say it depends a lot on the time. Of course, it depends on the details that we don't know, and that's the main cloud of uncertainty overhanging everything. My best guess at this point is that he may, and I want to underscore that may because he keeps changing his mind, make some very severe cuts in government spending early on, maybe. And that would be a disinflationary, contractionary policy. The tax cuts in question are not going to go into effect until 2026 and not fully in 2026. The first year in which they'll be fully in effect is 2027. And as you say, Richard, they will stimulate the economy. Tax cuts always do.
So we then have this interesting Bruegel where he wants OPEC to lower oil prices, which he says will allow for the lowering of interest rates. Listen to what the president said about that in his press conference under Dallas. Have a listen to what he said, sir.
With oil prices going down, I'll demand that interest rates drop immediately, and likewise, they should be dropping all over the world. Interest rates should follow us.
So, should they? Will they? Would they?
I think you're hard-pressed to make a strong statistical case that interest rates follow oil prices. Now, it is true that when oil prices go down worldwide, that's disinflationary, and that tends to pull interest rates down, but not up. So that much is true. But there's certainly no mechanical or anything close to a mechanical relationship there. And by the way, I might point out, as President Trump ought to know, that we're an oil exporter, the United States of America. We're still not used to that. Now, we're not a member of OPEC, but we're an oil exporter, and we usually think that if the prices of things you export go down, that's not the best thing that can happen to your economy.
Because, of course, not only will it reduce the income to the US on a price per barrel basis, it'll also reduce the income to the Saudis and he wants the
Yes.
Saudis to put $1 trillion into the US economy. Sir, of all the years that you've been looking at economies, do you think we are embarking on a grand new experiment here?
I wouldn't go there yet. It depends. Look, I don't have to tell you, Richard, and to the listeners, who in the world knows what Trump is going to do? That certainly includes me. But if you look at what's been announced or quasi-announced so far in terms of tariffs, in terms of tax cuts, in terms of trimming this or that out of the government's budget, which, by the way, keeps changing by the hour, it doesn't look revolutionary to me.
We will talk more, sir. I fear that you and I have much to talk about in the 4 years ahead, and I'm very grateful to you as always, Professor. Thank you.